r/entitledparents BIL stole kid's college fund, but I destroyed him in court. The email notification chimed on my phone at 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday, and I almost ignored it. Thank God I didn't. Account balance alert. Your savings account ending in 4821 has fallen below $500. I stared at the screen, convinced it was a mistake. That account should have had nearly $27,000 in it, 3 years' worth of contributions to my twins' college fund. My heart started hammering as I fumbled to log into the bank app, my hands shaking so badly I had to enter my password twice. $347.82. That's all that was left of Emma and Jake's future. I must have made some kind of noise because my wife Sarah stirred beside me. Everything okay? I couldn't speak. Couldn't breathe. The room felt like it was spinning as I scrolled through months of unauthorized withdrawals. $2,000 here. $3,500 there. All approved by the secondary account holder, my brother-in-law, Marcus. Marcus, who'd insisted on helping us manage the kids' college fund because he was a financial advisor. Marcus, who'd promised this account would be completely separate from our regular finances, earning better interest. Marcus, who'd convinced us to make him a co-signer, just for emergencies, and professional oversight. Marcus, who'd apparently been treating our children's college money like his personal ATM for 8 months. Sarah. My voice came out as a croak. Wake up. We have a problem. The next morning, I sat in my car outside Marcus's office building, gripping my phone so hard my knuckles were white. I'd printed out every bank statement, every withdrawal, every transaction. The evidence was damning, nearly $27,000 stolen from this account alone. But as I dug deeper through our financial records at 3 a.m., the scope of his theft had become crystal clear. The emergency fund we'd started for home repairs, depleted. The small investment account for the kids' extracurricular activities, cleaned out. Even the separate savings account we'd opened for a family vacation had been systematically drained. In total, Marcus had stolen almost $80,000 from us over 3 years. I trusted him. Sarah's younger brother, the golden child who'd gotten his Series 7 license and landed a job at a wealth management firm. The guy who showed up to family dinners talking about his clients' portfolios and offering unsolicited financial advice. The one who'd looked me straight in the eye last Christmas and asked how the kids' college fund was growing, pretending he didn't know he'd been bleeding it dry. My phone buzzed with a text from Sarah. Any word from him yet? I'd been calling Marcus since 6 a.m. Straight to voicemail every time. The lobby of his office building was all marble and glass, designed to scream success and trustworthiness. I wondered how many other families he'd robbed to afford the designer suit he was wearing when he finally walked out of the elevator at 10:15. He saw me immediately, and for just a split second, his confident facade cracked. Then that familiar arrogant smirk spread across his face. Well, if it isn't my favorite brother-in-law. What brings you downtown? I stood up, the folder of bank statements clutched in my hand, and looked him straight in the eye. You know exactly why I'm here, Marcus. We need to talk. Now. His smirk widened. Do we? That's when I knew this wasn't going to be the apologetic confession I'd been hoping for. This was going to be war. Marcus gestured toward the building's coffee shop with the casual confidence of someone who thought he held all the cards. Sure, let's grab a coffee. You're buying, right? He actually had the audacity to chuckle at his own joke. We found a corner table, and I slid the folder across to him without a word. He didn't even look at it. So, he said, stirring sugar into his latte, I'm guessing you got some kind of bank alert. Those things can be so confusing. Technology, am I right? $80,000, Marcus. My voice was barely controlled. $80,000. He finally opened the folder, but his expression didn't change as he flipped through page after page of evidence. If anything, he looked bored. Oh, this old thing, he said, closing the folder and pushing it back toward me. Look, I was going to talk to you about this soon anyway. I've been making some strategic investments with those funds. High-yield opportunities that aren't available to regular retail investors. I felt my jaw drop. Strategic investments. Marcus, these were unauthorized withdrawals from my children's college accounts. Unauthorized. He leaned back in his chair, that smirk never leaving his face. I'm a co-signer, remember? Everything I did was completely legal. And frankly, you should be thanking me. Do you have any idea what kind of returns I'm generating? Then where's the money? For the first time, his confidence flickered. Just for a moment. It's tied up. These are long-term plays. You can't just pull money out whenever you get nervous. I want every penny back in those accounts by Friday, or I'm going to the police. Marcus laughed. Actually laughed. The police? For what? Managing your money better than you ever could? Good luck with that. He leaned forward, and suddenly his tone turned ice cold. But let's say, hypothetically, you decided to make trouble for me. Do you know what happens then? I tell Sarah's parents exactly how financially irresponsible you've been. How you've been pressuring me to take bigger and bigger risks with money you couldn't afford to lose. How this whole thing is your fault because you kept demanding higher returns. My blood ran cold. That's not what happened. Isn't it? Who's going to believe you? I'm the financial professional here. You're just some middle manager who got greedy and is now looking for someone to blame. He stood up, straightening his tie. Mom and Dad already think Sarah married beneath her station. This would just confirm it. You're threatening me. I'm educating you about consequences. He picked up his briefcase. Look, I'll try to liquidate some positions over the next few months. Get you back most of what you put in. But if you try to make this into some big dramatic thing, you'll lose everything. Your money, your reputation, your marriage. Sarah's family will never forgive you for destroying me over what amounts to a family loan. A family loan. He actually called it a family loan. This isn't over, Marcus. Yes, he said, it is. Unless you want to explain to Emma and Jake why Daddy's poor financial decisions cost them their college funds and tore the family apart. I watched him walk away, radiating confidence, probably already planning how to spend whatever was left of my money. He thought he'd won. He thought his threats and manipulation would make me crawl away and accept whatever scraps he decided to throw back to us. He had no idea that I'd been recording our entire conversation on my phone. And he definitely didn't know that my college roommate had become one of the most ruthless litigation attorneys in the state. Game on, Marcus. I sat in my car for 20 minutes after Marcus walked away, hands shaking as I replayed the recording 3 times. Each listen made me angrier. The casual dismissal. The threats about destroying my marriage. The way he'd called stealing my kid's future a family loan. But I forced myself to think strategically. Marcus wasn't some random criminal, he was family, with deep connections to Sarah's parents and our entire social circle. If I was going to take him down, I needed to be smart about it. My first call was to Dave Chen, my college roommate who built his reputation destroying white-collar criminals in civil court. We'd stayed in touch over the years, mostly Christmas cards and LinkedIn updates, but I knew his track record. Holy shit, Dave said after I'd played him the recording. This guy actually threatened you. On tape. And he's a licensed financial advisor. Series 7 and 66. Works for Meridian Wealth Management downtown. Oh, I know Meridian. Bunch of old money snobs who think their reputation makes them untouchable. This is going to be fun. I could hear the predatory satisfaction in Dave's voice. Don't do anything else. Don't call him, don't talk to family, nothing. Can you be in my office tomorrow at 8 a.m.? The hard part was going home and pretending everything was normal. Sarah was in full panic mode, alternating between fury at Marcus and terror about the kid's future. Emma and Jake were both high school seniors, just months away from college acceptance letters, completely unaware that their carefully planned futures were hanging by a thread. Maybe we can take out loans, Sarah said that night, pacing our bedroom. Or remortgage the house. We're going to get our money back, I told her, but I could see the doubt in her eyes. How? You heard what he said about family loans and investments. What if he's right? What if legally? He's not right. I couldn't tell her about the recording yet, not until Dave had reviewed everything. Trust me on this. But trust was becoming a luxury we couldn't afford. That became clear when Sarah's mother called the next morning, just as I was heading to Dave's office. Sarah, honey, I could hear Linda's voice through the phone from across the kitchen. Marcus mentioned you two were having some financial concerns. He seemed worried about you. I froze. Sarah's face went pale as her mother continued. He said you've been pressuring him to make some risky investments with the children's college money. Honey, you know how volatile the market can be. Marcus has always been so responsible with money. Sarah looked at me with growing horror as the implications sank in. Marcus was already implementing his threat, poison dripping into her family's ears. By the time Linda hung up, the narrative was set. We were irresponsible parents who pressured poor Marcus into risky investments and were now unfairly blaming him for our bad decisions. He's really doing it, Sarah whispered. He's turning them against us. My phone buzzed with a text from Sarah's father, need to talk. Family meeting Sunday. This situation with Marcus needs to be resolved quietly before it gets out of hand. Even Sarah's dad was already choosing sides, and it wasn't ours. Dave's office was everything Marcus's building pretended to be, understated confidence backed by real power. Law books lined the walls, along with framed newspaper articles about his biggest victories. Corporate fraud attorney secures $50 million settlement. Local lawyer takes down investment scam. So, Dave said, reviewing the bank statements I brought, your brother-in-law thinks he's untouchable because he's family. And he's already started a preemptive strike against your credibility. Can we win? Dave's smile was sharp as a blade. Oh, we're not just going to win. We're going to destroy him so completely that his own mother will cross the street to avoid him. But first, we need to move fast before he covers his tracks. The hunt was about to begin. Dave spread a legal pad across his desk and clicked his pen. Here's what we're going to do. First, we file for an emergency injunction to freeze all of Marcus's accounts before he can move any more money around. Second, we demand a full forensic accounting of where your funds went. And third. His smile turned predatory. We're going to nail him for breach of fiduciary duty so hard his head will spin. How long will this take? If we move fast, we can have papers filed by end of business today. The real question is whether Marcus realizes how much trouble he's in. Dave leaned back in his chair. Based on that recording, I'd say he's either completely delusional or he's got something else up his sleeve. I was about to respond when my phone rang. Sarah's name flashed on the screen. Take it, Dave said. Put it on speaker. Sarah's voice was tight with panic. Where are you? Marcus just showed up at the house with some papers. He says he needs me to sign something about clarifying our financial arrangements before this gets out of hand. My blood ran cold. Don't sign anything. I'm on my way. He says it's just to protect the family from unnecessary legal fees. That if we handle this quietly, he can get most of the money back within 6 months. Sarah, listen to me very carefully. Do not sign anything. Tell him I'm not comfortable with any agreements until I can review them. He says he needs an answer now, or the opportunity goes away. Dave was already grabbing his jacket and briefcase. Classic pressure tactic, he muttered. We're going now. But when I tried to start my car, nothing happened. Dead battery. Of all the timing in the world. My car's dead, I told Dave, panic creeping into my voice. Take mine. I'll call an Uber and meet you there. He tossed me his keys. Whatever you do, don't let her sign anything. The 20-minute drive home felt like an eternity. I called Sarah 3 times, but each call went straight to voicemail. My mind raced through worst-case scenarios. What if Marcus had convinced her that signing was the only way to protect the kid's future? What if her parents had called and pressured her to be reasonable? I pulled into our driveway to find Marcus's silver BMW still parked outside. Through the front window, I could see him and Sarah sitting at our kitchen table, documents spread between them, Sarah holding a pen. I burst through the front door without bothering to knock. Step away from my wife. Marcus looked up with that same infuriating smirk. There he is. The man of the hour. Sarah was just about to sign our little agreement. Weren't you, Sarah? Sarah looked between us, the pen trembling in her hand. He says this will guarantee we get the college money back. That if we don't sign, he can't protect the investments from market fluctuations. I moved closer to the table and saw what Marcus had brought. The document was titled Family Financial Agreement and Release of Claims. My heart sank as I scanned the first paragraph. It was essentially a waiver absolving Marcus of any responsibility for investment losses while acknowledging that all transfers had been authorized. It's a trap, Sarah. Don't sign it. Marcus stood up, his facade finally cracking. You know what your problem is? You don't understand how money works. You don't understand that sometimes you have to take risks to get rewards. Those funds were sitting there earning what, 2%? I've been working to grow them. Then show us the investment accounts. Show us the portfolio. For the first time since this whole nightmare began, Marcus went completely quiet. The silence stretched for 10 seconds. 20. His jaw worked like he was chewing over his options. The market's been volatile, he finally said. That's when I knew with absolute certainty that every penny was gone. The silence in that kitchen was deafening. Marcus stood there, his mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water, while Sarah stared at him with dawning horror. Show us the accounts, Marcus. My voice was deadly calm. Right now. Pull up your phone and show us these investment portfolios you've been managing so brilliantly. I don't have to prove anything to you, he snapped, but sweat was beading on his forehead. This is exactly why I brought the agreement. You clearly don't trust. Show us the money. Sarah exploded, slamming her hand on the table. The pen flew across the kitchen. Stop talking and show us where our children's college fund is. Marcus's phone buzzed. He glanced at it and his face went ash gray. What? I demanded. Nothing. It's just work stuff. But his hands were shaking as he tried to stuff the phone back in his pocket. That's when Dave appeared in our doorway, slightly out of breath from his Uber ride. Marcus's eyes darted between us, and I could practically see the calculations running behind his eyes. Who's this? Marcus asked, though his tone suggested he already knew. David Chen, attorney at law. Dave stepped into the kitchen, briefcase in hand. I represent the family whose money you've stolen. Stolen? Marcus forced a laugh, but it came out strangled. That's a serious accusation. I hope you have evidence to back up that kind of slander. Dave set his briefcase on our counter and pulled out a tablet. Funny you should mention evidence. I just got off the phone with the fraud division at Pacific National Bank. Apparently, they've been monitoring some unusual activity patterns in accounts associated with your name. Marcus went completely still. What kind of activity? Large cash withdrawals. Transfers to offshore accounts. Payments to something called Golden Palace Casino Resort. Dave scrolled through his tablet with theatrical precision. Oh, and my personal favorite, a $15,000 transfer to Elite Motorsports for what appears to be a down payment on a Porsche. Sarah made a sound like she'd been punched in the stomach. A Porsche? You bought a car with our kids' money? It's not like that, Marcus said quickly. That was a short-term loan to myself. I was going to pay it back with interest once the other investments matured. What other investments? I stepped closer to him. The casino. Was that an investment too? Marcus's phone buzzed again. This time he couldn't hide his reaction, his face crumpled as he read whatever message had come through. Bad news? Dave asked pleasantly. My supervisor wants to see me first thing tomorrow morning. Marcus's voice was barely a whisper. Someone filed a complaint with the state licensing board. The blood drained from Sarah's face. Oh my God. This is really happening. This is really real. But Marcus was rallying, that familiar arrogance creeping back into his voice. You think you're so smart, don't you? You have no idea what you've just done to this family. When Mom and Dad find out you hired a lawyer instead of trying to work this out quietly. When Mom and Dad find out their golden boy is a thief and a gambling addict, I interrupted, they're going to be devastated. But that's not my problem anymore. Marcus's phone rang. He looked at the caller ID and his last bit of color vanished. That's Meridian Wealth Management, isn't it? Dave observed. Let me guess, they've just discovered some irregularities in client accounts. Marcus declined the call, but immediately it started ringing again. Answer it, Sarah commanded. If you have nothing to hide, answer the phone. I don't have to. Answer it, she screamed. Marcus's carefully constructed world was collapsing in real time, and we all knew it. But cornered animals are the most dangerous, and I had a sinking feeling that Marcus's next move was going to be desperate. Marcus let the phone ring until it went to voicemail, then immediately started buzzing again. His hands were visibly trembling now. You need to leave, he said suddenly, looking at Dave. This is a family matter. Actually, Dave replied, settling into one of our kitchen chairs like he owned the place. My client asked me to be here. So I'm staying. That's when Marcus made his biggest mistake yet. He grabbed the unsigned agreement from the table and waved it at Sarah. You know what? Forget being nice about this. You want to play hardball. His voice was getting higher, more desperate. That money was invested in high-risk ventures at your husband's insistence. I have emails proving he pressured me to chase bigger returns. I have documentation showing. Show us, I interrupted. Right now. Pull up these emails. Marcus fumbled with his phone, scrolling frantically. The desperation was palpable as he realized he painted himself into a corner with lies he couldn't substantiate. They're on my work computer. Dave laughed. Convenient. Just like the investment portfolios that don't exist and the documentation that somehow never materializes. Marcus's phone started ringing again. This time, he actually answered it. Hello. His voice cracked. We could hear a woman's voice on the other end, though not the words. No, I can't come in right now, I'm dealing with a family emergency. Pause. What do you mean, what family emergency? Longer pause. Who told you that? Sarah and I exchanged glances. Someone had clearly contacted his work about more than just the licensing complaint. I'll be there in an hour, Marcus said, ending the call. When he looked up at us, there was pure panic in his eyes. They've frozen my access to client accounts pending an investigation. Investigation into what? Sarah asked. Into whether I've been. He couldn't finish the sentence. Into whether you've been stealing from other clients too, Dave finished helpfully. Because here's the thing, Marcus. People like you don't stop at family. If you'll steal from your own sister's kids, you'll steal from anyone. Marcus suddenly stood up so fast his chair fell backward. I need to go. I need to. I have to fix this. The only thing you need to do, I said, standing between him and the door, is tell us exactly where our money is. Right now. It's complicated. It's really not, Dave interjected. Either the money exists somewhere, or it's gone. Which is it? Marcus's phone buzzed with a text. He glanced at it and his face went white as paper. What now? Sarah demanded. My landlord. Someone called him about. Marcus swallowed hard. About whether my rent payments had been coming from legitimate sources. The scope of what was happening was starting to dawn on all of us. Dave hadn't just filed a complaint, he'd apparently launched a full-scale investigation into every aspect of Marcus's financial life. How many other people have you stolen from? Sarah asked quietly. Marcus didn't answer, but he didn't need to. His silence was confession enough. Oh God, Sarah whispered. How could I not have seen this? How did we not know? That's when my phone rang. Sarah's father's name appeared on the screen. Don't answer it, Marcus said quickly. Please. Let me talk to them first. Let me explain. But I was done protecting him. Done being manipulated by his threats and lies. I answered the call and put it on speaker. We need to talk, Frank's voice filled our kitchen. Right now. All of us. Because I just got a very interesting phone call from Marcus's boss at Meridian. The look of absolute terror on Marcus's face told us everything we needed to know about how this was about to get much, much worse. Frank's voice crackled through the phone speaker, sharp and commanding in a way I'd only heard during his worst business crises. Marcus, are you there? Because Jim Caldwell from Meridian just called me personally. Apparently, you listed me as a character reference on some compliance forms, and now they're asking very specific questions about your gambling habits. Marcus looked like he might vomit. Dad, I can explain. Can you? Because Jim seems to think you've been running unauthorized trades through client accounts to cover personal debts. He mentioned something about Vegas casinos and online poker sites. Sarah grabbed my arm so hard I winced. This was spiraling beyond anything we'd imagined. It wasn't just our money, Marcus had apparently been stealing from paying clients too. It's not like that, Marcus stammered. There were some cash flow issues, but everything was going to be resolved. Cash flow issues? Frank's voice rose to a roar. Cash flow issues? You've been stealing from clients to feed a gambling addiction. Dave was frantically taking notes, his eyes gleaming with predatory satisfaction. This was going even better than he'd hoped. But then Marcus did something that caught everyone off guard. He started laughing. Not the nervous, desperate laugh from before. This was different. Darker. The laugh of someone who'd finally accepted they had nothing left to lose. You want to know the truth? Marcus wiped tears from his eyes, still chuckling. Fine. Let's talk truth. Yes, I took your money. Yes, I took client money. But you know what? I was good at it for a long time. Really good. I made more in 6 months than Dad makes in 2 years. Sarah's face went ashen. Marcus, what are you saying? I'm saying I lived like a king for 3 years. Penthouse apartment in the city. Cars that cost more than your house. Women who actually appreciated success instead of whining about college funds and mortgage payments. The casual cruelty in his voice was breathtaking. This wasn't desperation anymore, this was pure sociopathic indifference. The casino trips weren't gambling, he continued, straightening his tie with renewed confidence. They were networking. High-stakes poker games with real players. I was building connections you people could never imagine. Where's our money, Marcus? I asked through gritted teeth. Gone. All of it. But here's the beautiful part, I spent it on experiences you'll never have. 5-star restaurants, private jets, VIP treatment everywhere I went. Your kid's college fund bought me memories that will last a lifetime. Sarah made a strangled sound. You're talking about our children's future. Your children are average students who'll end up at state schools anyway. I invested that money in something worthwhile, myself. That's when Frank's voice exploded through the speaker. What did you just say? But Marcus was on a roll now, his mask completely off. And the best part? There's nothing you can do about it. Sure, you'll get a judgment. Maybe even criminal charges. But you can't squeeze blood from a stone. The money's gone, and I'll declare bankruptcy before I pay back a dime. Dave looked up from his notes with a smile that could have frozen hell. Actually, Marcus, that's where you're wrong. Bankruptcy doesn't discharge debts obtained through fraud. And thanks to your little confession here, we now have clear evidence of intentional conversion. Marcus's newfound confidence flickered for just a moment. But more importantly, Dave continued, you just admitted to federal wire fraud. On recording. In front of witnesses. That's when we heard the sirens outside. The sirens grew louder, and Marcus's face cycled through confusion, disbelief, and finally raw terror as red and blue lights flashed through our kitchen window. What did you do? He whispered, backing toward the sliding door to our patio. Dave casually closed his tablet. I didn't do anything. But when you file a complaint about suspected financial crimes involving multiple victims and interstate wire transfers, law enforcement tends to take it seriously. Marcus spun toward me, his earlier bravado completely evaporated. You called the FBI? On family? You stopped being family the moment you stole my children's future, I said, surprised by how calm my own voice sounded. The doorbell rang, followed immediately by heavy knocking. Federal agents. We need to speak with Marcus Webb. Sarah was crying now, but not the helpless tears from before. These were tears of rage. 3 years, she said, her voice shaking. 3 years you sat at our dinner table, played with our kids, asked about their grades and their college plans, knowing you'd already stolen their futures. Marcus tried one last desperate play. Sarah, please. I'm still your brother. We can work this out between us. Family doesn't send family to prison. But Sarah was already walking toward the front door. Family doesn't steal from children either. The federal agents were polite but thorough, 2 men in dark suits who looked like they'd done this dance 100 times before. The lead agent, Martinez, had kind eyes but a voice that could cut glass. Mr. Webb, we'd like you to come with us for questioning regarding allegations of wire fraud and investment advisor misconduct. Am I under arrest? Marcus asked, his voice barely a whisper. Not at this time. We'd just like to ask you some questions. But as Marcus moved toward the door, Agent Martinez's partner stepped forward. Actually, we do need to inform you that we have a warrant to search your residence and seize any electronic devices or financial records. Marcus stopped dead. A warrant? Already? Dave spoke up from behind us. When you're stupid enough to leave a digital trail spanning 3 years and involving multiple federal banking violations, warrants come pretty quickly. That's when Marcus's phone rang again. This time it was his mother. Agent Martinez nodded toward the phone. Go ahead and answer it. But keep it brief. Marcus's hands were shaking so badly he almost dropped the phone. Hi, Mom. Even from across the room, we could hear Linda's voice, high and frantic. Marcus, what's happening? The FBI just called asking about your finances and whether we've received any unexplained gifts from you recently. The color drained from Marcus's face. What did you tell them? I told them the truth. About the car you bought us last year, and the vacation to Europe, and the new kitchen renovation. Linda was sobbing now. Marcus, they're asking if we knew where the money came from. Sarah grabbed my arm. He bought them gifts. With our money. Agent Martinez was taking notes now, clearly listening to every word of the conversation. Mom, I need to go, Marcus said quickly. Wait. They're coming to the house tomorrow to inventory everything. Marcus, what did you do? The phone went dead. Marcus stared at it like it might explode. Agent Martinez cleared his throat. Mr. Webb, we really do need to go now. As they led Marcus toward the door, he turned back one last time. But instead of the apology I'd been hoping to hear for months, what came out of his mouth made my blood run cold. This isn't over. Not even close. The FBI agents escorted Marcus to their unmarked sedan, but his parting threat hung in the air like poison gas. Sarah was still crying, clutching the unsigned agreement that could have destroyed us if she'd put pen to paper. What did he mean, this isn't over, she asked Dave, who was methodically packing his briefcase. Dave's expression was grim. Guys like Marcus don't go down quietly. He's probably already thinking about how to minimize his exposure, which usually means maximizing everyone else's. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number, check your email. Important information about your BIL. A friend. I opened my email app with trembling fingers. The message contained a single attachment, a PDF file titled, Marcus Webb, Additional Financial Irregularities. The document was a forensic accounting report that made my stomach drop. Marcus hadn't just stolen from us and his clients. He'd apparently forged my signature on loan applications, opened credit cards in Sarah's name, and even filed false tax returns claiming fictitious business losses. Dave, you need to see this. Dave scanned the document, his jaw tightening with each page. Jesus Christ. He's been identity theft along with everything else. This goes back 5 years, not 3. Who sent this? Sarah asked, reading over my shoulder. Someone who knows way too much about Marcus's activities, Dave muttered. Either law enforcement has been watching him longer than we thought, or what? Or someone else has been tracking his crimes. Maybe another victim. Before Dave could finish that thought, my phone rang. Sarah's father again, but this time his voice was hollow with devastation. The FBI just left our house, Frank said without preamble. They seized the car Marcus bought us. They're freezing the account we used for the kitchen renovation. Linda's having a panic attack. I put the phone on speaker. Frank, we're so sorry. We had no idea he'd involved you. They showed U.S. bank records, Frank continued, his voice cracking. $43,000 in gifts over 2 years. All of it traced back to accounts he managed for families like yours. Sarah was sobbing again. Dad, we didn't know. If we'd known he was using our money to buy you things. That's not the worst part, Frank interrupted. They said there might be tax implications. That we might owe penalties on unreported income. At our age, we can't afford. The line went dead. When I tried calling back, it went straight to voicemail. He's destroying the entire family, Sarah whispered. Even from the back of an FBI car, he's still destroying us. Dave was furiously typing on his phone. I'm calling my contact at the U.S. Attorney's Office. If Marcus has been systematically targeting family members for identity theft, this case just became a lot bigger. That's when our doorbell rang again. Through the peephole, I could see a woman in a navy blue suit, alone this time. More FBI? Sarah asked. I opened the door to find Agent Lisa Chen, no relation to Dave, holding a tablet and wearing an expression of barely controlled fury. Mr. and Mrs. Thompson. I'm Agent Chen with the Financial Crimes Task Force. We need to talk about Marcus Webb, and specifically about a storage unit he rented in your names. The bottom fell out of my world. What storage unit? Unit 247 at Secure Space Storage on Riverside Drive. Rented 18 months ago using your social security numbers and a forged lease agreement. She showed us photos on her tablet, our signatures, perfectly forged, on rental documents we'd never seen. What's in it? Dave asked, though his tone suggested he already suspected. Agent Chen's smile was razor-sharp. Evidence. Lots and lots of evidence. Financial documents, fake IDs, and what appears to be detailed records of multiple ongoing fraud schemes. She paused, letting that sink in. Mr. Webb wasn't just stealing money. He was building a criminal enterprise, and he was setting you up to take the fall if anyone ever investigated. The room started spinning. Marcus hadn't just robbed us, he'd been systematically framing us as accomplices. Agent Chen set her tablet on our kitchen table, the same table where Marcus had tried to manipulate Sarah into signing away our rights just hours earlier. The irony wasn't lost on me. The storage unit contains boxes of financial records going back 7 years, she continued, scrolling through crime scene photos. Bank statements for accounts in your names that you never opened. Investment portfolios showing returns that never existed. And most concerning, detailed profiles of at least 30 families, complete with social security numbers, credit reports, and what appeared to be vulnerability assessments. Sarah's face went ghost white. Vulnerability assessments. How much debt each family carried. Whether they had elderly parents who might need expensive care. Kids approaching college age. Basically, Marcus was profiling targets for long-term financial exploitation. Dave leaned forward, his prosecutor instincts kicking in. How long has the Bureau been watching him? Officially. 2 weeks, since you filed your complaint. Unofficially. Agent Chen's expression darkened. We've had his name flagged in our system for 8 months. He kept popping up in connection with other cases, but never as the primary suspect. Other cases? I felt sick. A retired couple in Portland who lost their life savings to investment opportunities that never existed. A single mother in Denver whose child support payments were redirected to offshore accounts. The pattern was always the same. Marcus would identify vulnerable families, gain their trust through professional credentials or family connections, then systematically drain their accounts over months or years. My phone buzzed with another text from the unknown number. Storage unit is just the beginning. Check local news in 10 minutes. I showed the message to Agent Chen, who immediately called someone on her phone. We need a trace on this number, priority 1. But before she could finish the call, Sarah's phone started ringing. Her sister Emma's name flashed on the screen. Answer it, Agent Chen instructed. Put it on speaker. Emma's voice was hysterical. Sarah, thank God. Have you seen the news? They're saying Marcus was running some kind of Ponzi scheme. They're showing pictures of our house. My blood ran cold. Pictures of your house. Channel 7 just ran a story about local families being targeted by a financial advisor. They showed our house, and Mom and Dad's house, and yours too. They're saying we might all be co-conspirators. Agent Chen grabbed the TV remote and flipped to the local news. Sure enough, there was our house on screen, with a banner underneath reading, Local Family at Center of Multi-million-dollar Fraud Investigation. The reporter, standing on our front lawn, was detailing how sources close to the investigation suggest several family members may have been complicit in hiding stolen assets. Turn it off, Sarah whispered, but I couldn't look away. The story got worse. They showed footage of Marcus being led away earlier, but edited to make it look like he was being arrested at our house rather than just questioned. They mentioned the storage unit rented in our names. They even interviewed a neighbor who claimed we'd been living beyond our means lately. Who leaked this? Dave demanded. Agent Chen's phone was buzzing non-stop. Someone with access to sealed investigation details. This shouldn't be public yet. That's when the full scope of Marcus's revenge became clear. Even in custody, he was somehow orchestrating a campaign to destroy our reputations before we could destroy his. My phone rang. My boss's name appeared on the screen. Don't answer it, Agent Chen warned, but I was already sliding to accept the call. We need to talk, my supervisor said without preamble. HR wants to see you first thing tomorrow morning. Something about a potential criminal investigation involving your finances. The net was tightening around us from all directions. The meeting with HR was a nightmare dressed up as a routine inquiry. I sat across from Janet Holbrook, our head of human resources, while she read from what appeared to be a prepared script about potential conflicts of interest and financial improprieties that might affect your security clearance. I want to be clear, Janet said, adjusting her glasses, we're not accusing you of anything. But when an employee is named in a federal financial crimes investigation, we have to follow protocol. Named how? I asked, though I dreaded the answer. She slid a printout across the table. It was an anonymous tip submitted through our company's ethics hotline, claiming I'd been laundering money through fake investment schemes and using my position to access confidential client information for personal gain. The lies were so detailed, so specific, that they had to have come from someone with intimate knowledge of both my job and the investigation. Someone who knew exactly which buttons to push to make me look guilty. This mentions projects I worked on 2 years ago, I said, scanning the document. Client names that aren't public record. How would someone know these details unless? Unless what? Janet prompted. Unless they had access to my personnel file and project history. The realization hit me like a truck. Marcus used to date Jennifer Walsh from IT. She has administrative access to employee records. Janet made a note. We'll look into that. But in the meantime, you're being placed on administrative leave pending the outcome of the federal investigation. I walked out of that building feeling like I'd been sucker punched. 37 years old, with a spotless record and stellar performance reviews, and I was suddenly unemployed because my brother-in-law was a sociopathic thief. The parking lot felt like a gauntlet. Co-workers I'd known for years suddenly found reasons to avoid eye contact. A few brave souls offered sympathetic nods, but I could see the questions in their eyes. How much did he really know? How could someone be that blind to what was happening in their own family? My phone buzzed with a text from Dave, emergency. Meet me at the office now. I found Dave pacing his conference room like a caged tiger, surrounded by documents and looking more agitated than I'd ever seen him. We have a problem, he said without preamble. A big one. Bigger than me losing my job this morning. Much bigger. Dave slid a legal document across the table. Marcus posted bail 2 hours ago. My heart stopped. How? The FBI said he was being held pending arraignment. Someone posted a $2 million bond. Cash. Dave's expression was grim. We're trying to find out who, but whoever it was came prepared with a high-powered legal team. Marcus walked out of federal detention with 3 attorneys and a public relations firm. A PR firm. Gets worse. They've already filed a countersuit claiming you and Sarah conspired to frame him because you'd lost the college funds through your own poor investment decisions. They're saying Marcus was trying to help you recover the losses when you decided to make him a scapegoat. The sheer audacity of it took my breath away. That's insane. We have recordings of him confessing, which they're claiming were obtained through coercion and entrapment. Dave pulled up something on his laptop. But here's the really twisted part. They've subpoenaed your employment records, Sarah's medical files, even your kids' school records. What could they possibly want with Emma and Jake's school files? Dave's jaw tightened. They're building a narrative that you've been under severe financial stress for years. Mounting bills, possible mental health issues, desperate parents willing to do anything to fund their kids' expensive educational dreams. My phone rang. Sarah's name flashed on the screen. Don't come home, she said the moment I answered. There are reporters camped outside our house. And Marcus. Marcus is giving an interview to Channel 7 right now. What kind of interview? He's claiming we threatened his life unless he helped us launder money through offshore accounts. Sarah's voice was breaking. He's got bank statements, email printouts, even photos of us at family gatherings that he's using to support his story. I looked at Dave in horror. How is this possible? Dave was already pulling up the live stream on his laptop. There was Marcus, looking perfectly composed in an expensive suit, sitting across from a sympathetic reporter and spinning a tale so convincing that even I started to doubt my own memories. The hardest part, Marcus was saying, dabbing his eyes with a tissue, is that these are people I love. But when someone becomes desperate enough to threaten your life unless you help them commit crimes. The reporter leaned forward. You're saying your own family forced you to participate in financial fraud? Marcus nodded sadly. I should have gone to the authorities immediately. But when someone shows you photos of your elderly parents and implies that bad things might happen to them, you do what you have to do to protect the people you love. The lies were so breathtaking, so perfectly crafted, that I felt the walls closing in from all directions. I stared at the laptop screen in complete disbelief as Marcus continued his performance. He had documents, actual physical documents, that he was showing the reporter. Bank statements with what looked like my signature. Email printouts that appeared to show me pressuring him into risky investments. Turn it off, I said, but Dave was transfixed. No, we need to see all of it. Know what we're dealing with. The reporter held up one of the documents. This email, dated 6 months ago, shows your brother-in-law specifically requesting that you move money to what he calls higher-yield offshore opportunities. How do you explain that? Marcus shook his head sadly. I tried to talk him out of it. Told him those kinds of investments were risky, potentially illegal. But he said they were desperate. That if I didn't help them, they'd lose everything. My phone was buzzing non-stop with calls from numbers I didn't recognize. Reporters, probably. Sarah texted, Mom and Dad just called. They're getting death threats from people who saw the news. Death threats? I showed Dave the text. Public gets ugly when they think someone's stolen from kids, he muttered, still watching the interview. That's when Marcus dropped his biggest bombshell yet. The storage unit they're claiming I rented in their names. That was their idea. They needed somewhere to hide documentation of the offshore transfers while the heat died down. Marcus pulled out what looked like a rental agreement. This is my brother-in-law's handwriting, asking me to set up a secure location for sensitive financial documents. The reporter examined the document. This certainly appears to be in different handwriting than your signature. Because it is. He wrote that note during a family barbecue last summer, when he first approached me about hiding money from potential creditors. Dave slammed the laptop shut. That son of a bitch has been planning this for months. Maybe years. My office line rang. Janet from HR, I just wanted to give you a heads up, she said quietly. We've received 17 calls in the past hour from people who saw the news interview. Some are threatening to boycott the company if we don't fire you immediately. Janet, none of what he's saying is true. I believe you. But corporate is panicking. They're talking about releasing a statement distancing the company from you, effective immediately. The news was tightening from every direction. Job gone, reputation destroyed, family under siege, and now Marcus was systematically presenting evidence that made us look guilty of everything he'd actually done. Dave's phone rang. Agent Chen's name appeared on his screen. We have a situation, she said without preamble. Marcus's legal team just filed a motion claiming prosecutorial misconduct. They're saying the FBI violated his rights by conducting the interview at your house instead of in custody. Can they do that? They can try. More concerning is that they're claiming evidence tampering. Saying the storage unit contents were planted by you and your attorney to frame their client. I felt like I was drowning. How is he doing this? How does he have answers for everything? Because he's not working alone, Agent Chen said grimly. The bail money came from a shell corporation registered in the Cayman Islands. The legal team specializes in white-collar defense for organized crime figures. This isn't some desperate gambling addict trying to save his skin. What are you saying? I'm saying Marcus Webb might not be the mastermind here. He might just be the fall guy for something much bigger. The room went dead silent as the implications sank in. We weren't just fighting Marcus anymore, we were up against an entire criminal organization with unlimited resources and no conscience. And they were winning. The revelation that Marcus might be working with organized crime sent my world spinning into an entirely new dimension of terror. But before I could fully process what Agent Chen had told us, my phone exploded with an incoming call from a number I recognized with dread, Emma's school. Mr. Thompson. This is Principal Rodriguez. I need you to come in immediately. There's been an incident involving Emma. My heart stopped. What kind of incident? Is she hurt? She's physically fine, but... Principal Rodriguez paused, choosing her words carefully. Someone posted flyers around school this morning. Very detailed flyers about your family's alleged criminal activities. Emma's been getting harassed by other students, and frankly, some parents are demanding we take action. Dave was watching me with growing alarm as I put the call on speaker. What kind of action? I asked, though I already knew I wouldn't like the answer. The school board is meeting this afternoon to discuss whether Emma and Jake should be suspended pending the outcome of the federal investigation. I'm sorry, but when criminal allegations involve potential money laundering and organized crime, those allegations are lies. I exploded. Our children are victims here, not criminals. I understand your position, Mr. Thompson, but we have to consider the safety and welfare of all our students. Some parents are concerned about association. The call ended with instructions to pick up both kids immediately. As if losing my job wasn't enough, now my children were being punished for Marcus's crimes. Dave was already on his phone with Agent Chen when Sarah called, her voice barely controlled panic. The reporters followed me to the grocery store, she said. They're asking if I knew about Marcus's organized crime connections. What organized crime connections? What's happening? Before I could answer, Dave grabbed my arm. We need to leave. Now. Why? Because Agent Chen just informed me that Marcus's legal team filed an emergency motion for a restraining order against us. They're claiming we're stalking and harassing their client. That's impossible. We haven't even seen him since. Since he gave that interview an hour ago where he claimed you've been threatening his life. Dave was already packing his briefcase. The motion includes photos allegedly showing you parked outside his apartment building. I stared at him. I've never been to his apartment building. I know that. You know that. But they have time-stamped photos of your car and license plate taken yesterday morning. The blood drained from my face. Yesterday morning I was at work. My car was in a company parking lot all day. Dave's expression darkened. Which means either someone cloned your plates, or they have access to a car identical to yours. Either way, we're dealing with people who plan very, very far ahead. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Stop fighting this. You can't win. Accept the settlement offer or things get much worse for your family. I showed the text to Dave, whose face went ashen. Settlement offer? What settlement offer? That's when my phone rang again. A voice I didn't recognize, professionally smooth and utterly cold. Mr. Thompson, my name is Richard Castellanos. I represent certain parties who believe this situation has gotten out of hand. We'd like to arrange a meeting to discuss a mutually beneficial resolution. Who is this? I demanded, but I was already signaling Dave to start recording. Let's just say I represent people with a vested interest in seeing this matter resolved quickly and quietly. There's a coffee shop on 5th and Main. Be there in 30 minutes, alone, and we can discuss terms that will make this all go away. And if I refuse? The pause was long enough to chill my blood. Mr. Thompson, your daughter Emma is a lovely girl. It would be such a shame if her college prospects were permanently damaged by her father's poor choices. The line went dead. Dave and I stared at each other in horror. They weren't just threatening our money anymore. They were threatening our children. The coffee shop on 5th and Main was one of those trendy places with exposed brick and overpriced lattes. Under normal circumstances, I would have felt ridiculous meeting some mysterious criminal contact like I was in a bad movie. But with my daughter's safety on the line, I didn't care how ridiculous I looked. Richard Castellanos was exactly what Central Casting would order for, sophisticated criminal lawyer. Silver hair, $1,000 suit, and eyes that looked like they'd never seen anything that surprised them. He was already seated in a corner booth when I arrived, casually sipping an espresso like he owned the place. Mr. Thompson. Thank you for coming. He gestured to the seat across from him. Coffee. The Ethiopian blend here is exceptional. Cut the pleasantries. What do you want? His smile never wavered. Direct. I appreciate that. Very well. My clients are prepared to make this situation disappear completely. Full restitution of your children's college funds, plus an additional $100,000 for your inconvenience. Your job reinstated with a glowing recommendation. The criminal charges against Marcus mysteriously fall apart due to procedural errors. It sounded too good to be true, which meant it absolutely was. In exchange for, you sign a comprehensive non-disclosure agreement and withdraw all civil litigation. Marcus receives a clean slate, and everyone moves on with their lives. Castellanos slid a manila envelope across the table. The paperwork is already prepared. And if I refuse? Well, that would be unfortunate. He pulled out his phone and showed me a photo that made my blood freeze. Emma and Jake walking out of school, completely unaware they were being photographed. Your children seem like such bright, promising young people. It would be tragic if they became collateral damage in their father's stubborn pursuit of what he perceives as justice. My hands clenched into fists under the table. You're threatening my kids. I'm offering you a way to protect them. Castellanos put his phone away and leaned forward. Let me be clear about your situation, Mr. Thompson. Marcus isn't some lone wolf gambling addict. He's been facilitating money movement for people who don't appreciate public attention. Your little crusade for justice has attracted exactly the kind of scrutiny that makes my clients very, very unhappy. What kind of clients? The kind who make problems disappear permanently when they become too inconvenient. His tone remained conversational, like he was discussing the weather. Right now, you're just a minor headache. But if this federal investigation continues to expand, if more accounts get frozen, if certain financial networks get exposed. He didn't finish the threat, but he didn't need to. How do I know you'll honor this agreement? I asked, hating myself for even considering it. Because it's in everyone's best interest. My clients get their privacy back, you get your money and your life back, and most importantly, your family stays safe. Castellanos finished his espresso. But this offer expires in 24 hours. After that, we'll be forced to pursue other solutions. He stood up, dropping a 20 on the table. One more thing, Mr. Thompson. Your attorney friend has been making inquiries into some very sensitive financial networks. That needs to stop immediately. Some secrets are worth killing for. I sat alone in that coffee shop for another 10 minutes, staring at the envelope containing what might be our salvation or our damnation. Everything I thought I understood about this situation had just been revealed as the tip of an iceberg that could sink my entire family. My phone buzzed with a text from Sarah. Emma's crying. Someone posted her photo online with "criminal's daughter" written across it. How much worse is this going to get? I looked down at Castellanos' envelope, knowing that whatever I decided in the next 24 hours would determine whether my family survived this nightmare intact. I stared at that envelope for exactly 10 more minutes, then pulled out my phone and called Dave. "Don't say anything important," I said when he answered. "Just listen. Coffee shop meeting is over." The other party made their position very clear. "I need you to contact our federal friend immediately and arrange a secure meeting location. Tell her the scope of this situation is much larger than we initially understood." "Understood," Dave replied carefully. "Are you safe?" "For now. But we need to move fast." An hour later, I was sitting in a secure FBI conference room with Agent Chen, Dave, and two federal prosecutors who looked like they'd been pulled away from much more important cases. Agent Chen's supervisor, a stern woman named Director Walsh, presided over the meeting with the kind of authority that made everyone sit up straighter. "Mr. Thompson," Director Walsh began, "Agent Chen briefed me on your coffee shop encounter. We've been aware of the Castellanos organization for 3 years, but we've never had anyone on the inside willing to cooperate." "I'm not on the inside of anything," I protested. "No, but Marcus is. And right now, he thinks you're going to take their deal and disappear quietly." She leaned forward. "That gives us a very narrow window to flip him." "Flip him how?" Agent Chen opened a laptop. "While you were having coffee with Castellanos, we executed search warrants on 6 properties connected to the shell corporation that posted Marcus's bail. We found evidence of a money laundering operation that's been running for over a decade." The laptop screen showed photographs of documents, hard drives, and what looked like millions of dollars in cash. "Marcus wasn't just stealing from families like yours. He was washing money for Eastern European organized crime syndicates. Your college fund was just petty cash compared to what's been flowing through his accounts." Director Walsh pulled out her phone. "We arrested 4 other financial advisors in 3 different states this morning. The entire network is coming down, but we need Marcus to testify against the bigger fish." "What does that have to do with us?" "Everything." Agent Chen smiled grimly. "Because we're going to make Marcus believe that you rejected Castellanos' offer and are about to expose everything. When he realizes he's facing life in federal prison instead of a comfortable plea deal, he'll flip faster than you can imagine." Dave leaned forward. "What's the risk to my clients?" "Minimal, if we move fast. Castellanos' people are expecting a response in 24 hours. We're going to give them one they don't expect." 6 hours later, every major news outlet in the city was running the same story. Local family rejects $1 million hush money, vows to expose organized crime connections. The story, carefully leaked by the FBI, detailed how we've been approached by criminal associates offering to make the case disappear in exchange for our silence. It painted us as courageous whistleblowers rather than victims, and more importantly, it made it look like we were cooperating fully with federal authorities. My phone rang at exactly 11 p.m. Marcus's name flashed on the screen. "You stupid, stupid bastard," he hissed the moment I answered. "Do you have any idea what you've just done?" "I've decided to tell the truth," I replied, knowing the FBI was recording every word. "The truth?" "The truth is that you've just signed your family's death warrant. These people don't make idle threats." "Then maybe you should tell Agent Chen everything you know about these people before they decide you're a liability too." The silence stretched for nearly 30 seconds. When Marcus spoke again, his voice was broken. "They're going to kill me. Not if you cooperate with the FBI. Not if you help them take down the real criminals. You don't understand. I never meant for it to go this far. It started with just skimming a little from client accounts, but then they found out and they turned you into their money laundering operation. I can't go to prison. I can't." Marcus was crying now. "But if I testify against them, I'm dead anyway. Witness protection, Marcus. New identity, new life. But only if you cooperate fully." The line went dead, but 2 hours later, Marcus walked into FBI headquarters with his attorney and started talking. He talked for 14 straight hours, giving up names, account numbers, and detailed descriptions of a money laundering network that had moved over $200 million in criminal proceeds. 3 months later, I stood in federal court watching Marcus receive a 5-year sentence in exchange for his cooperation. It wasn't justice in the traditional sense, but it was accountability. More importantly, our family had survived intact. The college funds were fully restored with interest. The criminal network was dismantled. Castellanos and 6 other major players received sentences ranging from 15 to 25 years. Emma and Jake both got into their first-choice colleges, never knowing how close they'd come to losing everything. Sarah and I renewed our commitment to protecting our family above all else. And Marcus? The last I heard, he was living under a new name in Oregon, working as a bookkeeper for a small nonprofit. Sometimes I wonder if he ever thinks about the families he destroyed, but mostly, I don't think about him at all. Justice, I learned, isn't always about punishment. Sometimes it's about making sure the people you love can sleep safely at night. We sleep safely now.